Welcome, fight fans. It is your boy Blue, and now we are on, I believe, the 8th episode of BLÜ-FC. Today, we're going to be going back to our regular format, which means we're going to talk about last week's fights, and of course, then we're going to be talking about this week's event, which is UFC 266. Just going to angle that down. There we go. So, last week we had UFC Vegas 37, which was Smith and Spann. I talked about a few of the prelims, so we're going to go through those first. The first one I talked about was Impa Kasanganay and Carlston Harris. For this one, I went with Impa. I mean, he was undefeated before, of course. We talked about this a few times. The Joaquin Buckley KO. But other than that, he looked pretty good. So I went with him there. I thought he might even get a finish here. Probably more likely a decision. But he looked really good. Then he started getting a bit reckless. He got clipped, and that was it. Good job to Harris. Honestly, not much really else to say about that one. It's too bad, honestly. I mean, I was kind of sad to see Impa lose. Twitter in general, pretty sad to see Impa lose. It's too bad. He's a great guy. I hope he gets back in there. Give him somebody again. Yeah, I just want to see him back again in there. He's a good guy. The other one I was talking about was Montel Jackson and JP Bays. I was saying how this one was probably going to be a mismatched one, and the odds were leaning towards that too. I think from what I remember, it was like a minus 700 or minus 750 favorite in the way of Jackson. And yeah, it was a wild first round, I will say, and they actually had both some pretty solid chances to finish there. Bays really came out to fight there, but honestly, I thought twice in the first round. Oh, actually, yeah, no, that's right. In the first round, actually, I thought there were a couple chances where Jackson, I thought, was actually going to get finished there. I really did. And then after that, just a really clear win for Jackson. I mean, he even set a bantamweight record for 4 knockdowns. 4 knockdowns. My God. I will say, though, a little bit disappointed with Jackson. I mean, there were a few times that he could have easily jumped in and gotten the finish. But, I mean, you know, setting a bantamweight record, that's pretty cool, too. Good for him. But, yeah, he could have gotten the finish. He could have. I don't know. Anyway, I do want to see him again. He's good. I don't know if he's ready for somebody who's ranked, because you don't finish JP Bays. Man, you know, I think he's got to get another one before he gets somebody ranked. But he is a really good one. I would say he's at least top 25, top 30, but not ready for the top 15 yet. After that, we had Pani Kianzad and Raquel Pennington. As I mentioned, I had no idea why Pennington wasn't ranked. I still don't know. I don't really know why that was a thing because of her experience. So I gave her the edge. I mean, she had a huge advantage in terms of the experience. So I was going to go with probably a decision there. And for the real fight, they went back and forth. They hurt each other a bit. It wasn't anything crazy. Most of it was boring the first 2 rounds, I gotta say. I don't like saying that about any fights. But I mean, when you spend most of the time in a clinch, you know, it's a little bit boring. But then the third round heated up quite a bit. It was still pretty close the whole time. I really wasn't entirely sure who was going to win that. I was leaning towards Pennington, and turns out that's exactly what it was. It was a unanimous 29-28 for Pennington. So we actually got that one completely right too. Pennington by decision. After that, they actually ranked her 10th. I think she definitely deserves another ranked opponent. I mean, you know, I don't know why she wasn't ranked in the first place. So yeah, I think somebody like Kunitskaya, I think that would be great. And because she just lost one too. So it kind of makes sense to like make that happen. I think that's a good one. Oh yeah, another prelim that I didn't talk about last time, but I was really considering it. I really wanted to talk about it. I really wanted to make a pick here. I was going to say Nchukwi, This was I can't remember who he was fighting, and I didn't write it down, but it was in Chukwi. No, I didn't write it down. I was going to say in Chukwi here, I think you should watch him. I think you should pick him. I was going to say that, but then I saw that he was at a different weight class than normal, and he's still fairly inexperienced, so I wasn't sure about saying it. I wish I would have. Whoops, I hit the mic there. I wish I would have said that, because yes, he lived up to my expectations and then some. This was a new division for him, but he was dominant the whole fight. He looked amazing, and I cannot wait to see him again. He's going to be a real problem for anybody in there real soon. I really think so. Yeah. And then after that was the main card, which opened with Joaquin Buckley and Antonio Arroyo. Clear choice here, as I said, was Joaquin Buckley, and he doesn't really go to decisions very often, so I was leaning towards the finish there. Actually, I wasn't sure because Arroyo had never been knocked out, but like I said before, if you saw the last episode, I was saying Buckley's power there, I think he's going to get a finish. And we saw that again. There were a couple wild head kicks, though, by Arroyo, so I was a little worried. And it was fairly close the whole fight. But then Buckley gets that huge KO, and it looks like he's putting that all together again. And I can't wait to see him again soon. That was actually another one that we got completely right. It was a good week for us. It was a good week. Maybe it was a birthday present to me. I'm not sure. Anyway, after that, it was Nathan Manis and Tony Gravely, still not sure how to say it. Again, I was saying this one could have really gone either way for me. I went Manis because of the extra reach. Oh, never mind. I went Gravely because I said he had more experience, and the odds were saying Gravely. So I was leaning Gravely on that. I was going by decision. But surprise, surprise here. I mean, Gravely was easily going to get a KO. He actually basically did get a KO. Manis was on the ground, out, basically. Well, he was on the fence anyway, out. And then the round ended. Super lucky break for Manis, because not only that, he came back in the next round and he got a KO himself. What a wild fight. That was not one to miss. That is for sure. So we almost got the win with Gravely there, but somehow Manis turned it around and got a KO himself. Wild fight. Wild fight. After that, it was Arman Tsarukyan and Giagos. I was even saying Tsarukyan ranked 14th, and honestly, should be ranked much higher. He could be fighting people even in, I don't know about the top 5, but easily the top 10. I mean, yeah, he's really good, and he really showed that. I was going for a finish for Tsarukyan, and Tsarukyan smacked him. He won the whole fight. I mean, you got to give him somebody in the top 10. And he did actually say this. This might actually still happen. We'll talk about this later. He wants to be a backup for the Hooker fight, because both of the fighters in that fight are having some visa issues. So he wants to be a backup for that. And honestly, 100% support that. He really deserves either one of those. I think that would be really good. I think a Hooker fight would be really good for him. Other than that, for him, there isn't really anybody that's not scheduled to fight, really, in the whole top 15, because they're actually all slated to fight, or they're injured in the case of McGregor, of course. And that would be kind of a weird one, because he only does like higher tier fights. I mean, he could do that. He should do that, really, to work his way back up. But we're not going to talk about McGregor today. But yeah, the only person that is not fighting in really the whole top 15 is Tony Ferguson. And I think that would be the perfect person to fight. That would be an interesting one. I would love to see that. I really want to see that happen. And I mean, Ferguson's down to fight anybody. And I think that's a good one for him because, you know, if Ferguson wins, It proves that he's still got it. He can still compete in there. Oh, we got a comment. I didn't see that. The hat is pretty sick. Thank you, Adam. Thank you. Oh man. Anyway, back to the analysis here. I should actually throw that up for a couple seconds here. One of our analysts, of course, from the UFO show, Adam, loving the hat, of course. Back to this. Yeah, Tony Ferguson, great option for him. I would love to see that. I think it's a good option for both of them because, like I was saying, Ferguson, if he wins, it proves he can still compete, brings him back up and into the conversation to fight, kind of higher tier fighters again. If he loses, that's a huge win for Sarukian. And then Ferguson might not be around for much longer after that, sadly, which would suck because Ferguson is a legend. But still, good fight. I would love to see that. After that, we had Ariane Lipski and Mandy Bohm. I was saying I'm a huge fan of Ariane Lipski, but because of the problem she's been having the past couple fights and because of Mandy Bohm, she was undefeated. I was leaning that way, but I was saying it was a real toss-up for sure. And I wanted Lipski to win, but again, I wasn't sure if she was going to win. I really thought it could go either way. I was going Bohm by decision, but Lipski won every single round, really. I mean, she was dominant the whole time. I am so sorry that I doubted you, Lipski. I will never doubt you again. You are very good. I was always a fan, but, I doubted you for a second there. And it sucks that I lost the bet there, but I'm glad that she won the fight. Again, I am a fan. So good for her. Good for her. And again, for her, it's kind of similar to what we were talking about earlier with Montel Jackson. I don't think that she's ready to fight anybody in the top 15 because I don't know if she can compete up there. Maybe the bottom kind of 2 in there. I don't know. I think she needs one more higher tier fight of unranked people and then maybe work her way in. I think that's what's next for her. Then after that, we had the co-main. That was Iwan Kutelaba and Devin Clark. I had Kutelaba on this one for sure. I thought he was going to come in strong because he is not the kind of person that likes to lose. So losing like that to, I think it was Ankalaev, right? Yeah. I knew he was going to come in with a vengeance, and that is what he did. Even in the first round, there were a couple times I thought they were going to stop it, but somehow Devin Clark made it the whole way, and Kutelaba got the decision. I would actually really like to see him fight somebody ranked again, because really, I think Ankalaev, I don't have the rankings in front of me, but I think he's somewhere in like 7 or 8. So I don't really know why Kutelaba was knocked off the list there. I feel like he should be somewhere at the bottom. So yeah, I think he deserves it. I think he definitely deserves to fight somebody ranked. He's a beast. So somebody at the bottom like Crute or Hill or something, maybe even Ryan Spann after losing this past weekend, which of course we'll talk about next, or Misha Serkinov. I think any of those really, anybody at the bottom, like 10 through 15, I think that's good for Kutelaba. I think he has a pretty good chance of winning those too, actually. So yeah, I think that's what's next for him. That should be what's next for him. That would be great. So after that, in the main event, I went back and forth on this one. I did mention, but because of who Anthony Smith is, and I've seen his kind of upward trajectory, because he had a rough spot there against Glover, and I can't remember who the other person was, but yeah, he had a rough spot there. So I was kind of like, I don't know, but I saw the direction he was going, so I went that way, and I'm so glad that I did. He dominated the whole fight, smoked him a few times, and got a very easy win. He wants Rakic. Okay. kind of makes sense. He wants the win back. I totally understand. He's also just above him, so I could see that. But I gotta be honest, I think that we kind of know why he's saying that, because the only other people above him are Glover, who's fighting for the belt against Jan, and Jan, of course, who is also above him. And then there's Yuri, who is also the only person that is above him. And I think that we all know Yuri is he's really rightfully should have the next title shot, but Glover got in there, and good for him. He's getting on in there. So, I mean, you kind of need to give him the shot before he retires. So I totally understand why they did that. But I think we know Yuri is obviously the next title shot. Honestly, I think he's also the only person in the division that can beat Blachowicz. So, because he's just that good. So, I mean, I feel like Anthony Smith said that not just to get the Rakic fight again, but because he also probably doesn't want to fight Yuri, and understandably so, because I love Anthony Smith, but I don't think he wins that one. So I think that's what he was doing there, and fair enough, because I mean, really, if you lose to Yuri, then Yuri gets the title shot, you're fighting down again. You got to fight and do another few fights to get back up there again. So I totally understand. What I think was probably going to happen, it's going to be Rakic and Anthony Smith, probably. I could see them doing that. And then Yuri is going to get the next title shot. And then I'm assuming Anthony Smith will probably end up, if he beats Rakic, I would say he's probably going to fight the winner for the belt, whoever that is, probably Yuri, but we'll see. I think that's probably what's going to be next for them. So next up, we have this week's fights, UFC 266. But before we do that, we will take a short 30-second, 45-second break and look at an ad. We will be back right after this.
Allow me to introduce High Stick Vodka, a new way to celebrate victory. Gather around the glass with an award-winning, ultra-premium Canadian-made vodka. You probably won't listen when I say High Stick Vodka has a smooth, hard-hitting taste, or that it's developed in the birthplace of hockey. You won't listen when I say High Stick Vodka is a tribute to the game of hockey, or when I tell you it's distilled 4 times using Canada's purest mountain spring water to provide an authentic, remarkable flavor. But maybe you will listen when I say it comes in a f***ing hockey stick. Showcase your passion for hockey with our limited edition hand-blown hockey stick bottle. Whether you're celebrating victory or drinking to defeat, High Stick Vodka is better after every shot. Visit us at highstickvodka.com. It also comes in this regular bottle. Celebrate victory. Drink responsibly.
Welcome back. Of course, now we're going to talk about UFC 266, Volkanovski Ortega, and we'll start with the main card as always, and that is opening up with Jessica Andrade and Cynthia Calvillo. On the one side, Andrade is the number 1 contender still, and Calvillo is number 5. Andrade, of course, just lost to Shevchenko, but she looked basically as good as you can kind of expect to go against Shevchenko in that division. And on the other side, we've got Calvillo, who also just lost, but that was to Chookagian. For me, I think this is a pretty clear one. I'm going for Andrade. Andrade beat Chookagian pretty easily. Calvillo lost to her. And I just think Andrade gets the win. And I think we might even see a finish there. I really do. And if you look at the odds, which are available on Bet99, I will show that on the bottom right there. You can check out the odds on Bet99, and they are right now minus 267 for Andrade, plus 210 for Calvillo. And as we kind of just said, I think that's pretty fair. I mean, Andrade is clearly the number 1 contender still, even after losing to Shevchenko. Calvillo, I just can't see her doing much. So yeah, I think that's a pretty easy choice there. Next up, we have Curtis Razor Blades, which, by the way, is still one of my favorite nicknames. That is so cool. Then we have against Rosenstrike, Jairzinho Rosenstrike. Blades is number 4, Rosenstrike number 6. Last time we saw Blades, of course, he got that huge uppercut to the chin from Derek Lewis. Good God, that was nasty. Last time we saw Rosenstrike, he beat Sakai in the first round. He's only got 2 losses, both of them to the people that hold the belts right now. That's Cyril Gane, Francis Ngannou. To me, honestly, this really could go either way, especially if we're talking about heavyweights, especially when you've got Rosenstrike. Again, we've seen this. I mean, it just happened to Blades last time. One shot can end you right there. And Rosenstrike is, again, one of those power punchers. But on the other side, you've got Blades. And I think he'll probably have learned from that last one not to jump in so recklessly. He is more of a wrestler. I think he just has to be a little more patient and not jump into that uppercut like that. And by the way, he was easily winning the decision before that. So keep that in mind. Excuse me. Wow. So I think Blades, I'm just leaning towards Blades on this one. I think he's going to grind it out the whole fight. I think he'll get the decision here. But again, there's always that outside chance that Rosenstrike is going to get that KO. And the odds here, again, on Bet99, we've got minus 313 for Blades, plus 240 for Rosenstrike. I'm not sure I'd say it's that one-sided. I really don't see it that way. So if you're looking for maybe an underdog here, you might want to throw it at Rosenstrike. I'm still leaning towards the more rational decision of Blades. But again, if you want to lean towards that KO of Rosenstrike, I'm not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to it here. Next up, we've got the fan favorite, maybe even the fans headliner here. We've got the Nick Diaz and Robbie Lawler rematch. This one is so close for me, and it really should be for everyone. It's pretty much impossible to predict this one, honestly, because I mean, I wouldn't say they've both been out for super long, but Diaz hasn't fought in 6 years. That is a very long time. And Lawler hasn't fought in a year, which hasn't been that long, but he's also lost 4 in a row. So to me, I've really been flipping back and forth on this one. For some reason, I really see Diaz coming back strong, but I also can't help but think that Lawler, because he's been in there more recently, I just have a sinking feeling. I think he's going to win. I really do. But I will say, this is going to a decision for sure. That I am very sure of. Both of them have no quit in them. So I really think this is going to go to a decision. But who is going to get the decision? That's what we need to figure out here. Diaz hasn't really gotten many decisions. Lawler has had quite a few decisions, but he's also lost his last 2 by decisions. So again, it's just so close. It's so close. I am going to lean towards Lawler on this one just because he's so aggressive. He is. He's very aggressive, and because he's fought more recently. So I'm leaning towards Lawler on that. And if you look at the odds, they really could not be much closer. We've got Lawler at minus 119 and Nick Diaz at minus 105. So really could not be much closer. And I totally see why that is. So if you don't want to bet on a winner here, you might want to throw some money at the fact that it's going to be a decision, or at least over the 2.5 rounds here. And you've got, if you look at the odds here, they do have that on Bet99. Again, I can't give odds for a specific kind of finish because they don't post that until around Friday, and that's 2 days from now. So we don't have those yet. But they have the odds for the time spent, of course, and they have over 2.5 as minus 234. So they're seeing it that way too. And yeah, so I think that's pretty reasonable. You might want to throw some money that way because you got to think it's definitely going to last that long. I would put some money on that. If you don't want to pick an actual person, a fighter, a winner, pick that. That would be my advice there. Excuse me. Next up, we have the co-main, Shevchenko and Murphy. Do I even need to say anything here? I mean, come on. We all know Shevchenko is going to win. I mean, Andrade, honestly, I think she's the only person in the division who even had a slight chance. I didn't think she was going to win either, but she at least had a slightly better chance, and she got smacked, obviously. So, one of the things, you've got a few options for here. I mean, you can either bet a lot, like a lot on Shevchenko because you know she's going to win. You know she is. So you could bet a lot on that, get a little bit of change back. Or, of course, you can parlay this with another one, which we can talk about in a little bit, on some other options to parlay with. Or you can bet that a finish is coming because it's coming. So you can bet on that. Again, I don't have the odds for that, but that would be another pretty good bet that you can do there. You can bet on a finish there. And then, of course, you can also bet like we did with Diaz and Lawler. You can pick, is it going to go above the 2.5 rounds here? Are we going to see that? And honestly, do we think that it's going to make it to the championship rounds? I don't think so. I really don't. I mean, if Andrade doesn't make it to the championship rounds, Murphy is not making it to the championship rounds. I am sorry. So, and for the odds for that, if you look at under 2.5, you actually see minus 106. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. You might want to throw some money at that. So you that would be my suggestion here. You bet on it being in the first couple rounds, or throw some money on a Shevchenko finish. Or again, if you want to throw a bunch of money at it, throw it all on Shevchenko, make a couple bucks. Or again, we'll parlay, and we'll look at some options here to parlay before I move on to the next one. We'll look at some parlays here. Actually, you know what? Nah, we'll look at some. I was going to wait until after we talk about the prelims because I do have quite a few prelims that I want to touch on. But we'll look at some of the parlay options here. If you're looking at the main card, because Blades is so high, I don't know. I'm not sure if I would throw a parlay with Blades because we talked about that. I'm not sure. You could even do, again, maybe a decision with Lawler. I think that's more likely, honestly, than Blades winning. But you could just go with the odds. Oh, yeah, Andrade, yeah. Throw the women's fights together. Yeah, do a parlay with that. That would be a good choice. Minus 267 for Andrade. By the way, I forgot to give you the odds for Shevchenko. Minus 1,500. Minus, that is not 150. That is minus 1,500. And Murphy at plus 800. Not much of a return, but again, you would be guaranteed at least some kind of return, I'm sure. So yeah, if you want to throw that together, you can throw Shevchenko and Jessica Andrade. I like that as a parlay. That's a pretty good one. Or if you look at another huge favorite, I'm not really going to talk about this too much because I didn't look too much into these two, but Semmelsberger against Sano. Semmelsberger is a minus 500 favorite right now. So if you're looking at huge favorites, or at least two huge favorites, you can go Semmelsberger and Shevchenko, throw in Andrade on there, and I think you've got yourself a pretty good parlay there. Or honestly, throw in any of the other ones that I was pretty sure about if you're if you're feeling it. But yeah, if you're feeling those odds, do those three. Those are three good options. Then, of course, we've got the main event. You've got the champ, Volkanovski, and number 2, Ortega, the coaches of the Ultimate Fighter this past season. Ortega, you've got the last fight, of course, was against the Korean Zombie. Before that, which was his only loss to Holloway. And Volk, of course, you've got his last 2, which were wins over Holloway. Somewhat debatable to some people, but we won't get into that. We've talked about that a little bit. We'll let that go for now because we're talking about Volkanovski. But I think he's very clearly the only person in the division who can come close to beating Holloway because he's just that good. I'm not even a huge fan of him. I just think he's that good. In fact, I actually even like Ortega more. I kind of like him as a person. But we're keeping that out of it because I think, honestly, this is going to go the same way, basically, that the show did. I think Ortega is going to come out nice and strong. Maybe even win the first round. Who knows? But then I think Volkanovski is going to come in and then he's just going to control the rest of it. And he's going to take over. And I think that just like his last few fights, I think Volk is going to get the decision. And if you look at the odds, they're still pretty close, but they're leaning towards that way too. They've got minus 180 for Volkanovski, plus 145 for Ortega. I think that's pretty fair because they've got it fairly close. I still am definitely leaning Volkanovski. He is just, honestly, I think he's pretty underrated. A lot of people really underrate this guy. You can't sleep on this guy, seriously. I mean, if he can do that to Holloway twice in a row, even if you say he might not have won, he is the only person recently who's come close to beating Holloway. So you gotta really remember that, especially since Ortega lost to him pretty badly. He got brutalized, really. I mean, come on. Yeah. So, I mean, you just got to lean that way. Yeah. So that's my pick. And also, we have our boosted odds here on Bet99. Again, that's actually in the link below. If you look at the ticker going across, we've asked to get the Volkanovski, a Volkanovski win as a boosted odds. We're not sure if we're getting it, but I will update you on Twitter to see if we get that. But that was my pick for the boosted odds because I am very confident that Volkanovski is going to get this win. So, which means actually that it's another option for a parlay. A really good parlay, I think, Volkanovski, 1, Andrade, and Shevchenko. That is a great parlay. I really think those 3 are going to get the win for sure. And because of that Volkanovski minus 180, you might actually, you might be pushing some real good money around there with that one. Especially if we get those boosted odds in, by the way. That would be even better. So yeah, hopefully we get that in. I will let you guys know on Twitter. That is it for the main card. We will talk now about some prelims. There are so many prelims. We're not going to talk about all of them because we never do. Not that I don't care. I love prelims, but not everybody does. So we'll talk about the ones that I really want to pay attention to, the ones that I want everybody to watch. The first one, and this is an early prelim, by the way. It's the only one on the early prelims that I'm going to talk about because I'm sure you guys have better things to do on a Saturday than watch the early prelims. I don't because I love them, but that's beside the point. The first one I'm going to talk about is Uros Medic and Jalen Turner. Medic is 7-0 from the Contender Series. He won his last one by a flying knee. He's looked great. Turner won his last 2 and looked pretty good. This one is an interesting one to me, and I think everyone should watch this one. Again, I know it's an early prelim, but I think it's going to be a really good one, especially since you've got an undefeated fighter, especially since you got one from the Contender Series. Honestly, I love watching the Contender Series people fight again. They're usually so good. They're really usually fun to watch. Anyway, so you got to lean that way. You got to lean towards the undefeated fighter. And the odds are actually very close on this one. I checked this one earlier. We'll look at it now. And they've got minus 125 for Medic, plus 100 for Turner. So they have it very, very close for this one. I suppose that's kind of fair because you've got Medic, who's fairly new. But again, I think you lean towards Medic on this one. So this might be a good one to take. Minus 25. Again, he's undefeated. You got to always keep that in mind. So yeah, I'm going for him on that one. The next one, we've got Shamil Abdurrahimov and Chris Daukaus. Chris Daukaus is at number 10 in the rankings. Shamil is number 7 in the heavyweights. So on paper, that looks pretty close. You've got Daukaus, who has 4 wins in a row now. Impressive. And his last one was a first-round win against Olenek, and that is something. Yes, Olenek has a lot of losses, especially to people who are ranked right now, but not in the first round. So that really is something to remember. And Shamil, he hasn't fought in a while. His last one was actually against Blades. I think when I looked it up, it might have been 2 years ago that he fought. So it's been a little while. And before that, he beat Tybura, Arlovsky, and Sherman. This could be a close one, but I'm going with the one who's fought more recently. He's on his way up. I mean, four wins in a row. I'm giving it to Daukaus here. And since we're doing heavyweights here, I'm saying we're probably going to see a finish here. I'm thinking we're seeing a Daukaus finish here. So if we look at the odds available on Bet99, if you look at that link, where are we here? There we go, Daukaus. Minus 209 for Daukaus, plus 166 for Shamil. I would say that's pretty fair. They're definitely leaning that way too. So yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable. Again, I would throw some money at that. I think he's a good choice. I think that's a good one. Next, we have Dan Hooker and Nasrat Haqparast. Hooker is at 8th right now. Nasrat is not currently ranked, but there is so much going on with this fight, especially if you've looked at Twitter recently. You know that they've both got visa issues. And we still actually really aren't even 100% sure if this fight is even going to be on. But actually, yeah, and I even said this earlier, Sarukian could even swoop in and replace one of them. But we're going to assume that it's going to go ahead as planned with Hooker and Haqparast. Not only that, not only do we have the visa issues, but a couple weeks ago, we actually heard that Nasrat lost his mom. So there's just a lot going on here. And although we don't think about that usually when it comes to fighting, especially, in the cage, we don't really think about that too much. But when it's stuff like that, like, what are these people fighting for? Like, who are they fighting for? What's the motivation? And in this one, it's pretty clear. Nasrat obviously wants to win for his mom, obviously. So you gotta consider that too. So I've been really back and forth on this one quite a bit. I really have. Originally I had Hooker, then I kind of was like Haqparast, Hooker. I don't know. But if we look at that, Hooker is the one who's ranked, but he lost his last 2 to great fighters, though, of course. Haqparast has won his last 2, but not against great names. So again, pretty close. But he's got that story there behind him with his mom, which is something to consider. You always do want to consider that too. Wow, my throat is messed up today. Excuse me. Oh, okay. For some reason, I keep coming back to Haqparast here. I just have a feeling. Well, I think we're getting a decision here anyway. I don't think we're going to get a finish either way. I think we're seeing a decision. I just keep coming back to Haqparast for some reason. I think that Nasrat is going to get it. Either way, you do not want to miss this fight. This one is going to be great. I mean, it's a Hooker fight. Hooker is always good. I mean, I'm not even sure why this is on a prelim, honestly. This really should be the main card. But anyway, so yeah, you know it's going to be good. Tune in to see that one. But I'm still definitely leaning towards Nasrat on this one. I just have a feeling that he's going to pull it out somehow. I don't know. And the last one that I want to talk about is Marlon Moraes and Merab Dvalishvili. Number 6, Moraes, and Dvalishvili is number 11. On paper, again, pretty close. It is actually just close in general. Marlon has lost his last 2, which were to Rob Font and Corey Sandhagen, 2 really solid fighters. And Merab has won his last 4, all by decision. So this is another close one to me. It really is. Part of me keeps thinking Moraes, because I feel like he's going to come back strong and get the win, maybe even a finish. But I can't help but think that Merab is just going to come in there, dominate the whole fight, and get the decision. He's just too good at controlling people. It's that sambo, the combat sambo. That's just what the Russians do so well. Well, actually, he's not Russian. He's Georgian, I think. But it's just what they do so well over there. And I mean, when you're really good at combat sambo, which he is, I just have a feeling that he's going to come in, control Marlon the whole time, and he's just going to win the fight. I think he's going to get a decision. That's my prediction here. I think Merab's going to go in, get the decision win, and that'll be it. I don't think it's going to be a hugely exciting one necessarily, but I think he's going to get it. But I told you, I'm saying to watch this one because, again, it's ranked fighters. This is pretty important in that division. Also, Dvalishvili is just good. And I mean, hey, a Moraes finish, also pretty good too. I wouldn't be mad either way. Well, I would be because I want to get the win. But in terms of entertainment, there are no losers here. We want to see that. So that is it for this card. That is it. It was a long one today. We knew that because, I mean, pay-per-views, they're always long ones, which, by the way, I just noticed that there's actually not one, but 2 pay-per-views 2 weeks in a row. Well, I mean, like there's a pay-per-view 2 weeks in a row at the end of October and start of November. I didn't even notice that before. I really didn't. So that is going to be crazy. 2 pay-per-views in a row. Oh my God. So excited. Anyway, that is it for this episode. If you want to check out my socials, they're all linked below wherever you're watching, whether that's on Twitter or Twitch or YouTube. And if you want to hear about any other sports, the Area 51 Network, which is on my hat, has coverage of all of that. You can check out the other channels in the group. They do all of the other sports. And yeah, I will see you next week. But before that, I will show you the link to Bet99 to where you can get those boosted odds. You also get a sign-up bonus if you sign up with us. Yeah, cannot wait to see this pay-per-view. I will see you next Wednesday.